Pac Panic is a puzzle game developed by Namco and released on home consoles in 1993 and handhelds in 1994. Over the years, the game has been re-released on numerous Namco compilations and digital stores. In Europe and Japan, Pac Attack was actually known as Pac Panic. Strangely enough, in 1995, Philips licensed Pac Panic and ported the game to their failing CDI. However, it remained a European exclusive, never making it to North America. Despite Pac Attack and Pac Panic being released on a plethora of retro gaming hardware, I had never played it before, and this CDI version marks my entry into the series. Pac Panic's title screen shows promise with a catchy theme song, well-drawn art, and even shows off the CDI's ability to display thousands of colors at once, with a nice rainbow background. Unfortunately, Philips removed text from the menus, and you either have to figure out what each icon represents or consult the manual. Speaking of manual, the screenshots found in the manual are not from the CDI version, which is rather odd. Anyway, there are 3 modes to play, with the first being normal mode. Pac Panic plays like a hybrid of Tetris and Pac-Man. Pieces drop from the top and contain a mix of blocks and ghosts arranged in a 2x2 grid. Like Tetris, pieces can be rotated before reaching the bottom, but unlike Tetris, everything collapses, meaning there will never be any gaps. Every third piece will include a Pac-Man, who eats all of the ghosts in his path while following the laws of gravity. When you complete a line of crates, the line will clear, much like Tetris. Once you get a handle on managing crates, ghosts, and get a rhythm down with the Pac-Man pieces, normal mode is essentially a marathon puzzle game, challenging you to beat your high score. If I'm honest, normal mode did not immediately click for me. It's almost as if there is too much going on, and wrapping my head around crates, ghosts, and Pac-Man was tough. After a few hours, it does become intuitive, and Namco's attempt to create a traditional puzzle game, while also including elements from the arcade classic, does work. Unfortunately, the smallish playfield, being just 6 pieces wide, make things feel a bit cramped, and recovering from a mistake can be incredibly difficult. Once you misplace a piece, games tend to go downhill rather quickly. After filling the meter on the left, a fairy will appear, clearing most of the ghosts, but it's often too little, too late. There is fun to be had, but I wouldn't call it great. The next mode is puzzle mode. This reminds me a bit of Choo Choo Rocket's puzzle mode. There are 100 stages to complete, and the goal is to simply clear out all of the ghosts. However, each stage limits the amount of Pac-Man pieces you have to complete the task. And like normal mode, a Pac-Man appears every third piece. Thankfully, you can also switch the way Pac-Man faces in this mode, which is extremely helpful. For me, puzzle mode is the highlight of Pac Panic. The stages start out fairly simple, but gradually get more complex as the game progresses. You have to think about how pieces are going to drop once you eat a line of ghosts, and since you have a limited amount of Pac-Mans, there is a lot of planning and management involved to make sure you complete the stage before running out. New blocks are also introduced. The star blocks ignore gravity and don't fall down when you clear the crates or ghosts beneath them. Steel blocks crack when you clear a line and then collapse the second time through. The combination of crates, star blocks, and steel blocks make for some really interesting interactions with the pieces, and the challenge kept me glued to my CDI for many multi-hour sessions. Like Choo Choo Rocket, the solutions to some stages are not always obvious, and experimentation is required to figure out how everything is going to interact. Pac-Man himself will continue on in the same direction until something stops him, and then he'll turn around and go the other way. Sometimes you'll send him off one way and mess up the board state, and then you'll have to try again the other way and watch in amazement as everything falls perfectly into place. There's a great feeling of satisfaction in the later levels, which often require multiple, specific block placements in order to clear the ghosts. Despite a few puzzles taking me well beyond 30 minutes to figure out, there is an addicting quality as you try to figure each stage out. Unlike normal mode, puzzle mode really hits the sweet spot of challenge and balance, and I'm incredibly impressed at the cleverness Namco achieved with many of these stages. It really is a blast, and I'm a bit disappointed this game has been off my radar until now. Puzzle mode is not flawless though. On this stage, for example, you are given just a single Pac-Man to beat the stage. However, the blocks provided are random, and I was not given the correct pieces required to beat the stage, forcing me to try again and hope the random piece generator would give me the required blocks. Issues like this are not frequent, but they do make the game feel a bit sloppy at times. Finally, there is a 2-player mode, which is normal mode with a second player. I did not try it and have no comment. Another high point is the audio. Each mode has its own music track, and though they repeat frequently, the compositions are pleasant enough where they never become annoying. In normal mode, there's also a special track remixing the classic Pac-Man arcade music when the crates reach the top of the screen. The sound effects follow suit with high-quality samples, in addition to the classic gobbling sound as Pac-Man dispatches ghosts. The graphics are more of a mixed bag. I do like how the ghosts are animated, and the screen generally does a great job looking alive. After clearing or failing a stage, a large Pac-Man animation is presented, proclaiming victory, wiping off sweat in a close one, or crying when you fail. However, Pac Panic for the CDI features a ton of flickering. After a while, you don't really notice, but it's pretty bad. The frame rate isn't great either, and when you clear out a large line of ghosts, their eyes fly off in a very choppy manner. The different backgrounds even have a cheapness to them, as if someone did a bad crop job in MS Paint. Being a puzzle game, the graphics are really secondary, but by 1995, you'd think the programmers at Philips would have had a better grasp of the hardware. Overall, Pac Panic has really surprised me. While the normal mode is a pretty average experience, the puzzle mode is solid. Classic Tetris, Dr. Mario, and Bust-A-Move surpass it for sure, but Pac Panic is clever, addicting, challenging, and most importantly, fun. The graphic problems certainly leave something to be desired, but they don't prevent this from being a good game. 3 out of 5.